Stella!
Hey, guys.
Hey.
Shit. I made the note earlier and I moved my page. 39. Episode 39 is underway, I think. I hope.
Say so.
We just got finished with the party chair battle. It was fun. I had a great time. We'll probably talk about that more as things go, but it is the 12th of December, 2020. I think the Trump thing's over, I think.
Not
officially.
Sure. Not officially.
I think it's pretty damn close.
Monday is the deciding vote.
Yeah, we've had some other fun stuff. We're capable of passing a near $1 trillion bill to kill people in other countries, but we can't put any money in anybody's pocket right now. You just figure out how to pay around on your own. So, almost agreement at gmail.com, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. We're trying to get back in the swing of things. We kind of took a little bit of a break there post-elections and try to let it slow down. Next week's show, we're going to try to do a year in review / 2021, what's it going to be like conversation. But we'll skip all that for now. So episode, whatever I just said, 39 is underway. Sam and me work in the room. Oh yeah. So I'm still spinning a little bit from the party chair show. It's a lot more confrontational is not the right word, but it's the last time I had him on.
Was it more heated? I haven't listened to the first one.
Yeah, the last time I was on, I was trying to I went with the intent to keep it as a, what do we agree on? What do the parties agree on? What are things that we all are okay with? And we had one little spat in that one that I had to bring the bell out for, but for the most part, it was mostly quit stealing people's signs out of their yard. That was mostly the one thing that came out of the first time I came around.
I know I proposed some ideas that I said I saw from that one professor, that Lawrence Lessing, that found multiple ideas that on the national stance that left and right agreed upon.
Rowdy wants to play piano for you guys.
So I never got to actually listen back to see if the party chairs actually agreed upon some of those things.
You'd have to throw out some of the specifics. It was
pretty much gerrymandering, getting big money out of politics as far as influencing elections. So one of the things he pointed out was like 80 to 90% of all the funding is coming from it's not coming from the everyday as much as most candidates want to say, like, oh, my average donation is $4.50, blah blah blah.
And that's a whole bunch of $1 that turn into that offset as the maxes.
Oh, I mean, a lot of it just comes in through CPACs. I mean, there's ways that money get hidden into different LLCs and whatnot.
What was really interesting, looking back at the election, to me, was this District 18 mess that was the Ostermanis part, and then it turned into, and it was one of the things I talked to Matt off air about, maybe on air once or twice, but it was a district that the Democrats thought they could win, and the Republicans thought they were under threat for, and I could see it in my mailbox. I mean, this stack of shit that I got from that one election. Right. And it was interesting for me because I was looking at it so take that district out and go to a different race that was also for me. There's the Senate 6 race with Massey and Jane George, who were Jane's a fun, spunky thing. She was a great interview. She's running for the Democratic chair of the state right now in their restructuring that they're doing currently or whatever. But I got nothing from that campaign. And so what that said to me was that the Republicans were comfortable. They weren't worried about Massey losing that seat, and the Democrats didn't feel like they had a chance, or any of the PACs that were behind either one of the candidates.
All right. I don't think I got anything from that. I don't think I really got any flyers whatsoever.
Right. Well, because, I mean, realistically, your different districts are fairly set in stone, functionally speaking.
They pretty much just kind of cut their losses. It's like, it's not
right. There's no money.
It's not worth our money to try to throw a bunch of money into that race. It's already pretty one-sided.
Right. There's not enough of a voting population in the state Senate race for your section of town that's going to change. That's going to change the Massey Jane George race.
Right.
So the Democrats didn't spend any money because that's not going to get them anywhere with that race, and the Republicans didn't spend any money because they didn't feel like they were under threat. Same kind of thing. And so I guess like when you start kind of I don't know, it's just kind of like working that out and stepping back and looking at that in scale, you really like it really becomes clear who matters as a voter to me, to the parties. Because if you're in a district,
what they're going off of is essentially off of previous elections.
Oh, and there's more than that. The fucking data they have is obnoxious.
Right. Yeah,
It's
I mean, in today's day and age, yeah, they're able to dig a little bit further, but for the most part, they're going off of previous, your political leanings.
Right. Well, like Matt Shears told me what was
initially. Right.
He told me what was important to me.
Right.
And then I verified that it was mostly right. It was not completely right, but
right.
And then he told me which primaries I've pulled since I was 18.
Right.
Which I don't remember most of them. Like, I don't really remember it. But
oh, really? Oh, shit, I forgot about that.
Yeah. I don't remember voting that many times total. What the fuck?
Yeah.
But, I mean, like, and so, like, the amount of data that they have, and it's probably gone up exponentially over the last decade, if not less than that.
Oh, totally.
On who you are as a voter.
I wonder how much it costs them to get that information.
I mean, well, a lot of it's public record, so it's a matter of, it's just a matter of them going down and pulling it where they can. At least, like, previous voting record is public.
True, yeah.
But, yeah, I don't know what some of it, like, I'm curious where some of it comes from, like, where the actual specific issue parts thing, like, I mean, I can't remember the whole list, but the one that I disagreed with on there was that, for me, campaign finance is not top of my list of shit that I care about. I think it's fucked up, but I don't think that there's, like...
I'm sure with, like, social media, you could probably, if you wanted to advertise something, it'll give you a chunk of people to advertise towards, which would give you a blank list of people that agree.
But it won't give you people, at least in my experience. Maybe they have better access than I do.
It may just give you the option of, like, yes, I want to select these people that like this or that. Right. It won't actually give you the list of people's names, but
I'm saying, like, I mean, the parties the parties as a whole have enough data on individuals, not just general, not just neighborhood, not that. It's like you personally care about A, B, C.
Right.
You personally are what we consider an active voter or a dedicated voter or a lax voter. I don't remember what the terms were, but, like, you may not vote in half your elections. You may vote in all of your elections, and they know that. Right. And then when you do, they know generally who you're voting for.
Right. That's where a large part of, like, the gerrymandering comes into play, to where they were basically able to go and, like, literally look at a map and say, okay, well, there's where this group of people vote. Like, let's just draw the lines right around them and around these other people, and there's our new lines. Right.
And, I mean, again, like, we were talking about that in the Party Chair episode. I have a hard time rationalizing that, again, it may not be a malice thing, but there's not some known intent. Like, I know...
I think a lot of it's retribution, just because it's one party that's done it to the other, and it's just kind of...
I mean, it's the same thing, though.
Over and over again, like, the next party that comes into power, they're just going to redraw the lines because they felt they got screwed in the last one, so they're going to screw themselves over that much more.
We've had this conversation in the sense that retribution or personal benefit are the same thing at the same time. At the end of the day, they're not... They don't care. I mean, it's not that they don't care. It's that this is what's best for me and my party. And
I mean,
specifically how they go about it, I don't know, and I don't know how transparent the process can be, and how we can get info on that. But that's something that we're going to try to do, some sort of investigational journalism-ish thing, since we're not either of those things. But I mean, I'm just it's going to be. It's going to be interesting because, I mean, I'm curious how some of this redistricting is going to go. Like, all the effort that I've put in recently, personally, in trying to get more involved and trying to understand which districts are mine. Am I going to lose one? Am I going to have to figure out a different district? I doubt it from where I sit, from looking at the maps and stuff. I'm pretty centered on...
I mean, you're close to some lines, but I don't see them being redrawn.
Locally, I could see the city trying to annex this neighborhood. And I will be a loud and angry person if they try to do it, and I'll make a lot of fucking trash.
As far as them trying to rezone you back into the city, into the city,
right? Yeah, trying to zone this neighborhood into the city, because I mean that this part of the reason I bought this house is because it's county. Because I don't want to pay city taxes. I already pay enough city taxes with my business. I don't need to pay more. So I didn't warn them that we were starting back up, so they don't know that we're recording.
Schnizzles.
But it's all good.
But
I don't know. I'm still like, I wish you would have listened to that Jimmy Dore. I know I'm a bad homework assigner because I give you very short notice to do your homework. But that Jimmy Dore episode, like I listen to a lot. I listen to him regularly. He does one.
Did you listen to the Learned Lesson that
I did when it originally came out. I didn't re-listen to it when you asked me to.
I thought you said you hadn't. Okay. So you did listen to it originally. And you're like, oh yeah, I already heard that.
Maybe.
I remember everything about that.
Every single word of every single 3-hour episode that Joe Rogan does every fucking day.
But he had a lot of good shit to say on that. I really enjoyed that episode.
I apologize, and I it's not fair for me to expect you to listen to things I tell you to listen to if I'm not going to listen to things that you would tell me to listen to. But
touche.
The bit on Jimmy Dore that really, really, really stuck to me, and I'm really mad about, is right now, because he does a show on Wednesday. So beginning of this week, it was passed to continue the federal government, whatever funding bullshit they have to do to continue the operations of the federal government for another 2 weeks or month or whatever the fuck it is. And
I'm sorry, go ahead.
And they passed the DODAA or whatever the DDAA,
Defense Authorization Act.
Right.
Defense Budget Authorization Act.
Right. And so they passed however much it costs to keep the government open for another couple of weeks, and near $1 trillion in military defense spending. But 20 million Americans are staring down the barrel of an eviction.
Right.
And they can't do shit for them. They can't agree on figuring out how to do something about that. But they can continue to buy more planes and build more bombs and kill more people all around the fucking world.
Right. But in the thought of the Journal American, what are you going to scare people more with? The thought that you're not going to have the military to protect them in case something happened.
Protect them from what? That's what drives me nuts about it. What are we protecting us from? Because this is something you and I went into last week. And this we want a coalition, we want a UN resolution before we go in there and bomb the fuck out of some brown or black people all over the fucking planet. We want a UN resolution to do that, just so we can share the blame. Just so when they're pissed off about it, they fucking murder. They go and run planes into French buildings instead of American buildings.
But I mean,
hooray!
To give it some credit, there are a lot of essentially terroristic plots that are thwarted that we never hear of. Just because we were able to catch them in time.
Does it cost a fucking $1 trillion to do it?
I don't know the exact cost. I mean, I agree that the military budget is very much bloated.
And then the flip over other side of that would be...
As far as trying to break it down, I'm sure you could find some holes in it. It's like, do we really need some more F-20 or wherever, F-22s, whatever the fuck number we're up to now?
And the flip side of that is if I'm off in Wichita, Kansas, trying to figure out where I'm going to live tomorrow, where I'm going to get something to eat for me and my kids tomorrow, do I give a fuck if they're going to fly some planes into New York City?
No, but if you ask the American Joe, I'm assuming they're going to care more about them feeling quote-unquote safe versus...
What is less safe than not having a fucking house and food?
I agree with you. But if you look at it from an individualistic standpoint...
That was a lot of syllables. Good job.
It took me a few times to get it out.
I'm just saying, like, what is... I mean, so we are that stupid. We as a populace are that stupid.
No, I think we're not as... I don't want to use the term altruistic, but it's kind of like that out of sight, out of mind. But, I mean, we have that more fear of the unknown versus, like, fear of someone we don't know possibly getting evicted.
But what about the people that are getting evicted? They're not the fear of...
I agree with you on that.
It's not me.
But I'm saying if you ask like Joe Schmo that's barely able to get by, I mean, they may be able to empathize a little bit. But
so your hypothesis,
Sally, 5 states away is getting evicted.
Your hypothesis right now is that if we found a random person that's barely scraping by, right at the poverty line or whatever, unemployment and or whatever work they're finding and whatever other benefits that they have going on with them is barely getting them enough food on the table, and they're not worried about paying rent this month, maybe next month, but right now they're good. if we went and asked that person, do you care more about getting some help with your rent and food and any of the shit like that you need because we're not letting you work right now because of the pandemic? Or do you care more about whatever the fucking newest terrorist top guy is coming over here and running a plane into your house?
Right.
Your hypothesis is that he's going to say he cares more about Haji coming over and blowing up his house than he does about food and rent and the shit in the next 3 months.
Yes.
That's your really?
Yeah.
You're serious about that?
Yeah, in a generalistic stance, yes.
So we are stupid, and we need to be controlled by overlords because we're that fucking dumb. Even though the overlords are doing the same thing that the idiot people want them to do.
No, that's self-preservation.
That's not self-preservation. That's fucking stupid.
That is self-preservation. When you're giving someone the option of someone possibly coming and fucking up your whole world, they're going to choose that.
Okay. So let's back this up to an analogy that's a little more simplified. So, okay. So
you kind of pigeonholed yourself into a specific of okay. We've asked a very low-income person that's barely scraping by that may not be able to pay rent next month. They're going to be that much more empathetic to someone 5 states away, getting.
It's not 5 states away. It's them personally. I don't know that I can pay rent tomorrow. This is not me personally, but we're talking about going and finding someone person that's like, I think I can pay rent next month. I think I can scrape enough together to get food next month.
Right.
And then I'll figure out the month after that when we get closer to it.
Yeah.
That person cares more about a terrorist coming over here and killing them than figuring out if they can go 6 months out in their worry.
No, but
or 9 months out in their worry about house and food.
I agree with your point. To the extent, but we've been forced to kind of be afraid ever since 19 years ago to be afraid of terroristic acts, which is almost just kind of propagated our ballooning.
Right, because all the ones that they thwart that we don't see.
Right. I'm trying to give them some
I just don't. I mean, but your argument was a self-preservation argument, but that doesn't. It's not if you're I mean. Fuck, I don't know. If you get into
a self-preservation, as far as A, dead, or B, just out on the streets but still alive.
So you really think people think that people you even people that are well off right now, you really think that they care, that they have real concern about terrorist threats? That they care about a Saudi or an Iraqi or an Iranian coming over here and shooting them in the face?
I think there's a good chunk that do. Yes.
That's disappointing. I'm not from you. That's disappointing that I don't think you're totally wrong. That disappoints me that I don't think you're wrong.
Right. I'm not trying to think of this objectively and logically, but yes, I do believe there is still a good chunk of people out there that are really that afraid of Muslims coming over, Mexicans coming across the border, crazy, Canadian terrorists coming across the border.
Canuckistanis, say it right.
Canuckistanis, okay.
I just think, the problem is, I don't know. I get, that's the problem is that I don't necessarily think you're wrong. I think it is wrong.
Oh, I agree. It's very illogical.
Because I got in an argument with a coworker this week.
I'm not saying it's the right way to think. I'm saying that I think there's a lot of people out there that do think.
Because I was getting in an argument with a coworker this week, and it's again the libertarian in me is like, why the fuck are we there in the first place? We're getting to, in my opinion, is
which place?
Any of theirs, but specifically Middle East theirs. It's to me, Afghanistan and Iraq, to me, we're in a Band-Aid situation. We can peel it off as slow as we want, and it's going to hurt the whole fucking time, and nobody's going to feel better about it, or you can rip the fucker off and be done with it. Either one's going to suck, but the slow version is going to cost trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars that we don't have.
Right, you rip it off too early, you're still bleeding out. Everyone use that analogy.
How are you bleeding out though? Where's the bleeding out in this conversation?
Bleeding out as far as coming out early?
Right. What happens if we just literally hey Trump, this is the right thing to do, and Trump's for whatever because he's like fuck off because I got fired
in
anyway.
Iraq stance,
he goes, all right, we're out.
I think we're at the second or third essential leader that we've not put in place, but essentially have put into place.
We've installed multiple people that suck.
Correct.
Check. Yep.
Right.
Because they're probably trying to do things that they think are right for their people and not us, or they're trying to do things that are right for us and their people don't like it because they're their people, not our people.
I mean, it was definitely a mixture of, hey, we're gonna establish these. I don't know what kind of elections they were doing before.
Because here's one that's going to get so Randy's sitting in, but he's not sitting in. We'll see how you react to this one. One of my libertarian guys, and I get where he's at. Democracy sucks.
Okay. Is there more to his argument there?
Yeah, I mean, that's
just
the
stop
premise.
at that and hit stop. I'm done.
But
Democracy sucks. Thanks for joining.
But the premise being is well, that was our whole thing. I mean, but that's the sales pitch. Is we're over there to install democracy because democracy is so fucking great, right? We're going to put a democratic system in place over there so those people can control their own lives. Yet, realistically, it's us controlling their lives through people that we push through their democracy that we build for them.
Right, and that was part of it. Is people saw that as they assumed
and that's
that
all,
we came in initializing these
right, but that's
elections.
All,
they just assumed that this was all just a Western.
But that is all running on the assumption that democracy is good in the first place. And that's where the podcast show is to deviate.
And part of it in many cultures is like they literally have no concept of that.
Right. Democracy.
It's not the way they've done it for centuries.
Democracy can do well. Like my opinion, to separate myself from the guy I listen to, and I like his show a lot, but to separate from him, and it goes back to the party chair conversation. Democracy can do well if we actually put forth effort into it and understand what it is and how it works. And especially with what you were just saying, is you have a group of people that have never understood it, don't understand it, don't know what's going on with it, and you all of a sudden throw them into this thing. If you're looking at, like, if you're going true democracy and you're looking at it as a person who doesn't understand it at all, it's just like, I need one more than you to do whatever the fuck I want. Because, especially when you get over there, you get into the Sunni and the Shiite conversation. Well, we need one more Sunni than Shiite, and we could fucking kill them all.
Right.
Because the democracy agrees.
Right.
And so, again, going back to where that started, is that we went over there with this noble goal of installing democracy in this country that didn't have it, because democracy is so fucking great.
That wasn't our initial goal, but sorry, go ahead.
What was our initial
goal? Stop yellow cake.
Oh, that thing that doesn't exist either? Okay,
right.
Check. That figment of somebody's imagination that made a good excuse and the media sold it, and that goes to the cathedral thing too.
It goes back into which time we've gone into the Middle East,
right.
what part of the Middle East
right.
that we've gone into.
And I mean, what sucks most to me is the only good argument for not ending a lot of these conflicts that we're in. The only good argument is, what the fuck do we do with all these kids when we bring them back? That's the only good argument to me. What do we do with the thousands of soldiers that are spread out all over the fucking planet and bring them home and be like, hey, go find a job? Right. People that are already here, that were here before you were here, can't find a job, but hey, jump in the mix.
Right, that's definitely part of the equation as well. But
that's the shittiest fucking reason to stay at war that I can fucking imagine in my life.
I agree.
Because if we can pay you to go live on a base over there, we can pay you to live on a base at home and do nothing.
If we convince the American public that we're winning over hearts and minds, the American public
Boeing
is more open.
But Boeing's making good money, so we're all good.
Yeah, they did just finally have their first test flight of the 737, 747.
Yay. Maybe that thing will blow up in the sky too, and they won't get sued because they don't have to get sued because they're Boeing.
I mean, that was just a really, really fucking crazy thing that happened, because they essentially just grounded any and all 737s.
I don't fucking. I remember. I beg.
But essentially, like a whole major line of airplanes that all the major airlines were using. They were like, no, you can't fly that anymore.
And every airline should just sue the fucking pants off them. And Boeing should cease to exist.
I mean, the information that came out, it was like they knew there were issues with it leading up into its initial.
Launch. But the government needs Boeing to make F-22s and all the other cool shit that they make that kills people.
Right.
So we can't let them die. We can't let them be. We can't let them be responsible for a poor action.
They're too big to fail, just like the banks.
Yeah, I mean, and you and I keep these banks open, and we continue to keep them open. And this next round of fucking dumb shit stimulus checks is going to put more money in the big banks. It's going to put more money into Amazon and all these other big fucking companies. And you and I are going to be okay at best.
I meant to look into, it was 2 or 3 weeks ago, there was a big scandal with I don't know how or who exactly was filing these, but there was a bunch of prisoners in California that were filing for either unemployment or PPE loans and had gotten paid.
Nice.
And I guess the
Good for
state
them.
finally picked up on it. We were like, wait, what the fuck? Like, you're in jail.
Good for them. Way to go.
Right. I never heard, like, how exactly was it, companies that were claiming these people as employees, or if
They were claiming to be companies. The people were just filling out the paperwork and claiming to be a company on their own.
They just kind of, from jail started their own LLC.
Fucking genius. I love it. Good job, guys.
But it was a good chunk of money that was like coming out of, essentially, I guess, the federal government.
I hope
not the state government.
I hope a handful of them were in there on possession charges in a state that's legal. That'd be hilarious.
They released most of those people.
Did they release them?
Pretty sure.
Have you followed any more on the Moore Act after last week's conversation? I'm still stuck on that.
Have we followed up on it?
Have you looked into it anymore? I didn't assign that as homework. We just talked about it. I thought maybe you followed up.
No.
I haven't seen anything
I'm in
else.
agreement with most people that it's dead in the water.
I
people saying that, like, the Democrats put this up knowing that it was going to fail.
I'm convinced that I was accidentally right when we were talking last week about this. When I said I think Pelosi and the Democrats put it up knowing that the Senate was going to kill it, knowing about the Georgia race. I think they put it up trying to put shit on Republicans for the Georgia race.
That doesn't make sense.
How does that not make sense?
Because it just sounds so fucking stupid.
Well, sure, but these are the people that are stupid enough to prefer bombing Middle Eastern people as opposed to having food on the table next week.
I guess, yeah. I mean, I can see your logic behind that people are fucking
Why
stupid.
else? Okay, if you put it on the floor and you voted on it knowing it's dead in the water, why?
I mean, it honestly took me by surprise, and I would like to think I'm not the only person that was taken by surprise.
I was taken by surprise too.
This was even going to Congress.
But that's my point: is that why now? Literally, why logically now? Again, going back into they're okay with passing a near $1 trillion defense budget and passing a bill to extend the fiscal budget for another however long so that the government can stay open for a couple more weeks or whatever. They're okay with those things, which are theoretically important. But why is this one important now?
I mean, we just had an election where a number of states, it just came to me, that there was a number of states that did just, vote to legalize. And
I'd move to Portland if I thought it survived.
So maybe they were just trying to go along with the...
that is a generous interpretation, but I follow...
What's the right word?
I follow your logic. The trend.
Go with the current trend, I guess. The wave of people even that thought even being in their mind. Like, hey, you just voted on this. Like, hey, House just brought it up. Like, maybe you'll write your senator and try.
Well, they brought it up in 2019, but it was originally put on the floor in 2019. But I don't know. I mean, I could be totally wrong, but like the more I think about it, the more I think I'm right. The more I think it was there that because again, if you know it's going to die,
stupid or not stupid enough, I don't really know.
Which one are you calling me? I'm either not stupid enough or too stupid. If you're one, then I'm the other.
I mean, it doesn't make. Sometimes I'm just too logical, but it doesn't make sense to me that me seeing that the House has passed this is going to then infer to how, if I happen to have lived in Georgia, how that's then going to make me vote and how I'm going to vote in the Senate race.
Okay, so do you think? I don't know. I've gotten some Georgia race stuff on advertisements. I haven't got. For some reason, the Republicans advertised to me more. However, they figure out because we talked about the radio thing last week. Yeah, it probably is Randy's fault. You're right, but you don't think that there's a PAC in Georgia right now that is sending out mailers that says you want legal weed?
I think Georgia might be medicinal. I swear when I drove back, when I came into Georgia, there was a fucking billboard that said it was like the first dispensary in the Georgia state line. And first thought was like,
why didn't my first thought is why didn't you stop? But
I'm assuming I would have to be a resident if it's medicinal.
Right,
only,
you'd have to have a card of some sort. Yeah,
I didn't know the state laws, and I'm like, that's just really weird. Like,
I have you should have told me you had a Tennessee card, and see what they said.
I didn't think it was legal at all in the state of Georgia. I mean,
Either way,
it's the fucking
do you
South.
think do you think for a second that there isn't a pack right now? Whether it was okay, so let's back up for a second. Let's assume you're right that it wasn't intentional on the House's part to do it to influence the Georgia race. But do you think for a second there isn't a pack in Georgia right now that is using that as fodder for a mailer that they're sending out right now to get people to vote in this runoff?
I'd be curious to see it because I would not imagine they would have put that on there.
I am with zero evidence. I am 52% confident
that
it's
would
happened.
make a big sway into how you're going to vote for in a state senate race.
Well, depending on how you word. I mean, depending on how you word it, there's 1,000 ways you can solve that.
There's a lot of fucking potheads out there, but I don't think that is their main voting focus.
Or there's a small business organization that's pushing it out there, be like, hey, this is something. This is an opportunity for work. This is jobs. This is economy. We go federally goes legal. We push legal through the state. Now the economy is the thing that we're pushing. It's sellable. It's easily sellable.
Yeah, I think it was to make it federally legal.
Right. And not to mention the whole credit card financial parts of it that would change around it as well. Because there are people like us here, right? Me personally right now, that if it goes federally legal, that changes one very specific thing for me that's important. And it's been a big fucking problem for us if it goes federally legal.
Right, but it's never automatic. It's usually in a time frame.
Right, but it at least starts the process into easing one issue that I don't like having, and it's stupid that we have it in the first place.
Right.
Because we're not even dealing in illegal shit.
Right.
But we're on that weird fucking cusp of middle bullshit.
Was it the United Nations? I think just changed their status on it as well. They essentially took it off of, I guess, what the U.S. considers a Scheduled 1, saying that there is medicinal benefits to it, which then just opens up the door to more medical testing.
Right, which is groovy. That's a bonus, but nobody cares about that. But they do. I mean, I care about that, but I don't. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Well,
I think
the United Nations is more worldwide, unless you want to be.
I mean,
just totally U.S. focused.
I generally do.
Broader.
I mean, I generally do because I struggle enough to try to keep up with U.S. issues, let alone local issues.
Right.
I mean, I don't really give a shit what the UN says.
Well, but what happens on the worldwide scale greatly affects what happens in the U.S.
Right.
Just because we have dealings with most countries in the world.
Sure. But we can't figure out how to get Jim Bob make sure he has a place to live next month or food on the table.
I agree.
I think that's...
Have you written your local congressperson or senator on these issues that you're having?
Written them about what?
These issues that you're having?
About their... Well, I mean, I did see that Burchett voted on something about condemning some racist legal shit in other countries, and that's important.
I hadn't heard anything about that. Huh?
Yeah.
Burchett doing what?
Yeah, Burchett... He voted on it. I didn't see what he voted on it, but apparently, is Burchett a senator or a congressman?
Burchett is a senator.
All right, so the Senate apparently had a vote.
Hey,
whatever. He's some fucking Nashville. It doesn't matter. He voted on a resolution to, I can't remember the verbiage of it, but it was basically a resolution to condemn racial something or other or whatever around the world. It's like, what the fuck does that even mean? And I actually read through it a little bit, and essentially it's like, hey, we as America don't think that's cool. Awesome. I'm glad there's a person in Nashville who works in the office of Tim Burchett that had to read through this fucking piece of shit and tell Burchett, yeah, you're going to go along with this. Probably not even that person didn't even tell, but I'm assuming somebody who gets paid with taxpayer dollars had to go through this piece of shit so that we, as a country, it goes to the same thing we were talking about in the previous episode. I'll bring it back in a second. Is that we, as a country, think it's shitty that countries around the world do racist shit. Awesome. Great. That is so cool that we have that on fucking paper right now. That costs money. I don't give a shit how little it costs. If it costs 25 cents, that costs fucking money. To pass a bill. It costs money. I'd be curious. I'm sure there's somebody that's figured out how much money it costs to pass a bill through Congress or the Senate. It costs money, and they vote on that shit. People are working to do that shit. It costs money.
Okay.
and it's to condemn fucking Djibouti from having a racist law in the book.
Okay.
Exactly. What does it fucking do? Nothing. And why are we spending time or money on this?
I'm saying you're focusing on like the wrong things as far as fiscal waste.
I agree with that.
You can find much more
There's
egregious waste.
Okay.
I'm sorry, you're focusing on the one thing that has,
So am I
some
wrong?
kind of benefit. Yes.
What benefit does that have?
And our standing in the world, I think a lot.
That something that was probably assumed is now official. It's in writing, so now it's official. Do you think that there's anybody on the fucking planet that's going to say, "Oh, well, America's cool with that," because they didn't officially say they're not?
That's part of it, yeah.
That's really the way the world works. The way the world works
how
is that
fucking AA works.
that some
You
shithole.
don't say that you're an alcoholic till you can actually like admit it. That like, yeah, I fucked up.
But because AA is you are admitting it for yourself. It's not the thing that I'm talking about is not America admitting that they've done something wrong. It's America saying that we are not okay with other countries doing something that we feel is wrong.
Okay.
So again, going to Djibouti is a random fuck example. Djibouti is doing something terribly racist. Do you think anybody in Djibouti gives a fuck about what America thinks about the way they're running their government? If that cost a penny, it's a waste of money.
Very little, yeah.
Exactly. And okay, and again, you're right. There are thousands and thousands and thousands of better examples of more waste in the government. It doesn't make this one wrong. No, it's not as big. It's not as big as that $1 trillion military budget we just passed, but it's still money.
I don't know.
In other news, I continue to not kill deer and just sit out in the woods with my gun and pretend like I was hunting.
And once again,
I don't know. That Chuck Swan is not good for me, I guess. I don't see shit.
they're elusive.
They know. I mean, yeah. They're for only getting shot at for 4 days a year. They're on point.
I mean, my little bit of looking at the area, it's pretty hilly. So there's really only like certain areas, and I don't know what the.
But they groom it. That's the thing about it. They groom it. I mean, it's groomed to be hunted. They go out there. They plant They plant feed.
Right, but it's such a large, vast space that
they make all the clearings and stuff, but
they make the clearings. But I think there's really only like certain ways to get to some of those clearings that some of those deer can really like move around to. I mean, yeah, they can climb a hill, but how far are they actually really wandering around? How much are they actually feeding? This is also during the rut, so they're looking for females as well. I mean, some of the places that we were at, you had a decent view, but it was such a hill that you really didn't see that very far. We were maybe 60 yards to where you're not seeing a wide swath of land that you can actually take a shot from unless you had a very high vantage point. We're close enough to the river that they've got a source of water essentially.
yeah. In hindsight, though, that spot that we were at was not. I mean, the two other spots that I went to,
Yeah.
were much better. Like you were talking about the vantage point part of it. Like we because I was doing it off of memory when we set up in the dark.
Right. When the sun came up, you're like,
Right, we're like 5 feet from a fucking grass wall. It's like I can't see shit.
well, even that, it was like 30 feet. Like it was just, it went downhill where you couldn't see over the
Right.
hill. It's like, all right, we can see out like 40, 50 yards around us, and that's it. But where we're at, I mean, you would think if we were maybe 15, 20 feet up in the air, like a tree stand,
Right.
would have been great.
Which they don't allow, but
Oh, they don't.
no. I was reading through it because I was sitting there and I had internet, so I was double checking. And I was like, so I was doing calls and shit. I was like, fuck, what if a doe comes? I'm so desperate to shoot something, I might shoot a doe, but I don't think I'm allowed to. And so I was reading through the rules, and yeah, it's antlered only. So But yeah, I mean, the other two spots I went to were much better clearings in the sense that, like, well, both I went in afternoon, so I went in daylight and set up in daylight. And it was just like, I mean, I set up in clearings where I could see. But yeah, I don't know. It was disappointing, but whatever.
I've kind of tried to make it a point, like, not to get too overly excited about the hunting season, like, just to make myself not as, disheartened when I don't get something. I'm like, oh well, let's go.
Right. I mean, I don't know.
I enjoy just getting out in the woods. It's always nice.
Yeah, and especially it's especially the weekend is nice because it's it's a fun time period. Like I don't mind. Like at some point I'll get that episode together. I'm still working on it, but it's a lot of. It's just a lot of just hanging out, and I'm good with that. It's essentially doing this for 5 days straight.
Right.
To me, when we have everybody here.
Excuse me.
Grody. Yeah.
Wasn't it though?
I'm a little more lit than normal because I'm already pretty drunk from the other show.
Crack-a-lacka.
So I'm backing down into the soft beers. But I don't know. I don't know. That Jimmy Dore episode, I don't know. Jimmy Dore's like become my new hero because he's opposite of me a lot of philosophically. I mean, he wants Medicare for all. He wants, a lot more government stuff than I think I want. But
yeah, I'm sure I've mentioned it before. I mean, the whole Medicare for all phrase has been used to try to like soften it into the fact that a lot of people consider socialism medicine. Like, well, we have Medicare and Medicaid, which is government funded, which is with what most right would consider a socialistic program.
I still push back on it because
But that's specifically why they were calling, expanding healthcare a essential Medicare for all. It's like, hey, you guys know Medicare that you've been paying the elderly that's governmentally funded, like that you want to call like any government funded insurance socialistic, like, all right, like, well, if you want to think about it in other terms, like, yeah, well, let's just call it Medicare for all.
Right.
But again, it kind of softens the blow of it.
But it's still one of those things I get caught up on because I don't trust the government to do well at whatever they're asked to do, and that's the problem to me. The premise is fine.
See, but I think that's a separate issue from like the actual idea of it itself.
Okay, you're right, but how do you separate the two things? Like, how do you separate the idea of Medicare for all, a government-run system, from a government that doesn't run well?
Right.
How do you separate that? And you go, okay, well, yeah, the idea and the function and the premise is solid.
I get it, but the failure, I guess, of one aspect shouldn't I would like to think that the failure of one part of that shouldn't then null and void a good idea, in a sense.
Well, but it does in the sense that is who runs it.
I mean, it's it's kind of like the same argument with like abolishing the police. It's like, oh well, the police didn't do bad. Let's just get rid of it. It's like, well, no, because we still need police.
You have to do that again.
Yeah, I mean, it's not totally abolishing insurance, but it's more abolishing the large insurance corporations aspect of it, which I think is totally corrupted. Most of our healthcare system.
I agree.
In general.
I agree with that part of it, but I don't know that answers. It still doesn't answer the question of, okay, well, these shitbags that we know have fucked it up, the insurance companies, we're going to replace it with the government, who we don't have a good track record of running anything very well. So let's get rid of known bad for a known bad.
Well, I mean, even with Medicare, I mean, you've still got there's still a large issue of doctors that are overcharging,
right,
for Medicare
because they can, because it's going to get paid,
right? Because it's government funded,
right? And what does that do over time?
I mean, eventually over time, a lot of them, or I don't know if I say a lot of them, but a number of them are getting caught for this bullshit,
right? But
just overcharging and just padding on the bills.
But who's paying for that?
Who's paying for Medicare?
Right. Well, who's paying for the allowance of fraud? because fraud's happening. We're acknowledging that fraud's happening.
In a roundabout way, it comes out of the taxpayers.
It's not a roundabout way. It's a direct way. The taxpayers who are funding a government that can't stay even close to a fucking budget in the first place. And even the budgets they do pass are deficit budgets every fucking year anyway. That's the problem.
That's what I'm saying.
The problem isn't that Medicare for all is a bad idea. It's that it's going to be owned and operated by an entity that can't operate shit within a budget. And even when they have a budget, and even if they miraculously run within budget, other than back when Clinton was running the show.
We'll have to do more research because, I mean, the government is obviously functioning well enough to keep us going on a day-to-day basis. Correct? So we're
you're gonna have to. Right,
doing
I'm gonna have to.
right.
I'm gonna have to.
I know there's a large swath of the federal government.
I'm gonna have to put my AC hat on real quick, and you need to define two big terms there. Functioning being one of them.
Okay. Do we have a government shutdown today? Yesterday?
Okay.
Day before?
Okay, this goes back
Day
to
before that?
Okay, you're right. This goes back to a conversation we've already had. What does it mean? What does the government running mean? What is happening if they don't run? What isn't happening?
We are not in total chaos right now.
I mean, we're pretty fucking close.
That's a bad, bar to set.
Yeah. So success is not full chaos. Check.
But I mean, in the fact that we haven't had anything close to catastrophic.
So
as far as
I saw a good meme the other day, and I don't know how.
I totally agree that we do not run this government well whatsoever.
Right, but I saw a good meme the other day that was interesting on the COVID situation that kind of runs in line with this. It's like the top 5 days in American history of death. It was like 9/11, yesterday, the day before that, the day before that.
No, we've clipped 9/11.
That's what I'm saying. Like the top 5 was like today, 9/11, the day before yesterday, and so on.
Right.
More people are dying every fucking day right now from this virus.
It's just the flu.
I agree.
It's all just skewed statistics. These were people that were going to die anyway from heart disease and
probably some of them, but
it's just a hoax.
But this government that's so good at anything. I mean, that's. I mean, what are we talking about?
As far as, I'm just saying, we're
right.
They're
functioning. Right, they're functioning. Right. More people are dying every day than have ever died on any other day in American history.
That's a little different because you're then extending the government's powers to the healthcare industry being able to treat a pandemic.
While we're talking about the healthcare industries, while we're talking about the government taking over control of the healthcare industry.
Correct.
Right.
So has the government taken over the healthcare industry?
I have no.
Oh no. Okay. They haven't. Gotcha.
Okay. So had the government.
So we don't have the example of that.
So had we had Medicare for all.
So we have no basis for that example whatsoever.
So had we had Medicare for all, this many people wouldn't be dying every day right now.
No, because they did try to pass something that, as far as I think it was geared just towards testing, was not supposed to be billed to any kind of person. It was supposed to be able to bill directly back to the government.
So does Trump get credit for this virus, or not virus? This
he wants it. He wants it.
So you get credit for the.
Would I give him credit? Hell no.
Well, who gets credit for it?
I'm
Pelosi?
gonna put it on the scientists that were actually working on the vaccine. But if I came up with a vaccine, I wouldn't want credit for it either. It should be the person that signed some kind of bullshit that's saying Operation Warp Speed.
Oh, okay. So
that should be the person that got credit for it.
When Biden claims credit for it come January 21st.
Has Biden claimed credit for it? Where is this assumption that Biden's claiming credit for it?
Okay. Well, you're right. It's an assumption. You're correct. I'm assuming that he will.
Okay.
I'm assuming. Well, we rephrase that. I'm assuming that the media will claim credit for him.
Right, but Trump's bitching and moaning because this is the Trump vaccine and he did everything.
I mean, he did preside over it. That would be the title.
Okay. And I still go back to my previous statements that if you're going to take credit for the good, you got to take credit for the bad.
So you see, Biden Harris, our Time Person of the Year.
I did see that.
For what?
I agree.
What did they do this year other than beat a guy that everybody apparently hates in an election?
I agree. It doesn't make sense to me either. Because apparently some of the people were like, I think they gave it like a generic like healthcare workers, doctors, or whatever.
I could have been Groku. Groku would have been. I would have been happy with Groku. Baby Yoda. God damn it, man! Get with the times.
I haven't seen the new season. I don't subscribe to all this streaming bullshit.
His name's Groku.
Fucking racket. Fuck it.
It's a racket. It's good entertainment. It's good distraction from the world that exists
I'm not
outside.
saying it's not a great show. I'm just tired of everybody coming up with their own goddamn streaming services, and I ain't got the goddamn money for it.
You need a better job.
I need a second job.
You need that living wage is really what you need. You need that living wage of $15 an hour, whoever made that number up, because apparently if you had that living wage, you could get these services. That bothers me. That bothered me a lot.
The $15 a week was just kind of a general estimate. I mean, as you know.
What are we in the fucking 20s? $15 a week? You said $15 a week.
Sorry, $15 an hour.
Excuse me.
Nice.
I think it's a weird number. Like it's like that.
It's
when it's thrown out like living wage.
It's a starting point, and most people.
It's
agree,
a starting point, so it's not enough.
For some areas of the U.S., absolutely not. Yeah.
I mean, okay, I agree with that.
Okay.
But it's a starting point. But that's my problem with it.
It gets the conversation going. I mean, as Trump likes to say, it's a business negotiation.
Okay, so the real living wage is like $12.50 because you ask for 15 and you settle for $12.50.
No, I mean, I actually think it should be above, but I mean, it's actually getting the conversation going. Because I mean,
do we need to have a talk?
Like you said, like your automatic assumption was $15 an hour. Like, that's too much.
It is too much, depending on what the job is. It depends on the job, not the fucking whatever the fuck's going on around it.
Okay.
I mean, yeah. The idea of living wage is that you should get paid what you need to live. That's the idea of living wage to me, right? Is that the premise?
Yeah, that's
so you can work, living wage, you can work and pay your bills.
Live, right.
Right. So if 10,000 people can do a job, and you are the person that needs that job done, and you only need one person for that job, how much do you pay for that job?
You're throwing out way too many numbers. All right, let's just one person.
If 10 people need a job, and you need a job done that takes one person, how much do you pay for that job? Are you getting a calculator out? Like, seriously?
Yeah.
Okay. If 10 people need a job.
I'm not doing I'm doing my own fucking math.
Oh, okay.
So $15 an hour.
I don't give a fuck what $15 an hour makes a year or makes a week.
$40.
Or how many groceries $15 an hour can make. It doesn't fucking matter.
Times 52 weeks out of the year. $31,200.
Great. Good math.
Okay.
Congratulations. Your calculator works.
It does. I was kind of hoping that shit was accurate.
Can you answer my question, or are you just going to put numbers in the calculator and not listen to me? I don't give a fuck what $15 an hour makes a year.
Because that has no relevance on what you're able to pay for, how much you're able to make in a year. That has nothing to do with what you can afford.
If 10,000 people need a job,
why are you throwing 10,000 people into this?
I'm throwing
bullshit?
A fucking number on there. Okay, again,
let's talk about one person. One person.
Okay, one person. If one person needs a job,
okay,
and 900 or 9,900.
Stop.
Why?
Stop. One person.
One person needs a job. Okay, one person needs a job.
All right, one person needs a job.
There are 999,000 other people that need a job as well.
You're talking about demand of jobs. I'm talking about one person that has a fucking job that cannot live in our society.
Okay. So one
I
person.
don't know why you want to bring into like other applicants that could be eligible to get this guy's job.
Because there's value to work. It's value to work is the conversation. It's not what you need to fucking live. It's value to work. The job has value. The person that's doing it doesn't.
Okay, and in a right to work state, yes, I guess you can be
No,
fired
in the
for
fucking real world of reality of function. I can't pay you $1,000 an hour to work a job that only is worth $10 an hour. It doesn't make sense. Okay. Just because the government tells me I have to doesn't make it make sense.
There are varying degrees for skill that you pay more for, yes.
Okay, so what is it about some weird minimum that we have fabricated out of the sky?
I don't know. Why do we have a minimum wage?
I don't know why we have a minimum wage. It doesn't make a shit.
Was it because companies decided they were going to pay people less, and they're
because companies are sitting there having a very low skill job that 1,000 people are in line to come get. Why am I going to pay more for that? Because at the end of the day, I'm trying to put a thing out on the other side that I can sell for X. And the less I pay in labor for X, the more money I make, or the more of them I can make, or the more I can spend on other projects or whatever that is that I'm doing.
You started off with exactly your initial statement. The more money you can make.
Right.
You can pay people less because the more money you can make.
Okay, fine.
That's the general business standpoint.
That is not the general business standpoint. That is some business standpoints, but yes.
Well, I mean, you've stated before that like the CEO's main point is to make money for the investors. Correct? All right.
Okay.
Case in point.
What is the case in point? Is that I care more about
your CEO's
as the CEO
and how much he can pay his people is geared towards his main goal to get his investors that much more money.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Because I know that I can...
So what is the ultimate goal of the CEO?
Right.
What's going to make him more money? To pay his workers less, to make his investors more money.
Correct.
Makes everybody happy, right?
Sure. Because
because
if
that
more job
employees than there are owners, and
because if that job is so low skilled that anybody can fucking do it, then I have more people in line behind that person that can take that job. And if that person doesn't want to put forth effort, energy, whatever it is, skills, and further themselves to either rise up in my company or go into some other company and make more money in the other company, that is on that person. That is not on me as the manager, CEO, whatever the fucking phrase you want to do.
It doesn't cost you more money to have to like double pay someone to train somebody else to do the same job that you just fired somebody for.
Okay, so if we're going to get into specifics, then we need to get into specifics. We're digging a fucking hole. Here's your shovel. Dig a hole. Here's your shovel. Dig a hole.
Just throwing out one.
What one?
As soon as you fire somebody else, you're then double paying someone because you've got that one person paying the one new person to train them to do a job for at least a couple weeks.
Well, we're on an assumption that... okay, so let's back up for a second because I apologize. I'm on the assumption that this is so low skill that it's literally day one you can do the function. It's an hour of somebody else teaching you how to do the job, and you can do the job.
If you think you
dig
can
a fucking
walk
hole
into any job and know what the fuck you're doing when you walk on the job, like, I want to find that job that I can walk in and not knowing shit.
Dig a fucking hole. You know how to dig a hole? How long does it take me to teach you how to dig a hole?
There's more directions to just digging a hole, but sure, whatever.
I'm just we're trying to run a simplified version here.
You want to dig it deep? You want to dig it wide? You want to dig it long? Like... We can go all day with like the semantics of digging a fucking hole.
Sure. And the manager that's telling you which hole to dig and where to dig, it's not going to be the same manager either way.
Okay.
So I'm not telling you, I'm not teaching you how to pick which hole you want to dig. I'm teaching you to dig a fucking hole. How long does it take me to teach you how to dig a hole?
It might take you a little while.
Well, then you're retarded and you don't need a job. I'll fire you and go to the next guy.
Exactly.
There are 10,000 people on the planet that I can teach how to dig a hole in 20 minutes.
Gotcha.
And I as the manager can paint the lines of where I want you to dig the hole. And when you say, am I done? No, it needs to be deeper.
All right.
How long does that take? How much does that cost? I'm getting paid either way because I'm the manager. I can tell you how big and deep to dig the hole, and it doesn't change the cost.
Gotcha.
So where does some artificial minimum wage come in that helps anybody? It doesn't help you as the employee because you are less likely to get a job because I'm gonna work the guy that I give the job harder to make my money off of it.
I'm less likely to get a job because federal wage has been implemented.
Why are you less like? Because less people are. I'm going to invest more in you as the particular employee that I have to make sure that I can keep you functionally digging fucking holes for me.
Oh, you're investing money in
you,
me.
in one.
And how?
In one. But what does that do for the other 999,000?
How are you ready to fire me at any moment? How the fuck are you investing money in me when you're ready to fire me at any moment?
Because I'm going to get more productivity out of you, and I'm going to force more productivity, or I'm going to fire you and replace you with somebody else.
Oh, okay. So you're employing me under fear. Gotcha.
Sure, absolutely.
Awesome.
You're welcome. Thanks minimum wage.
That's how you keep happy employees.
Thank you, minimum wage. That's what minimum wage does.
That's not what minimum wage
That is absolutely what minimum wage does. It forces me to get more out of you to pay what I'm forcing to pay you. I have to, as the manager, get more out of you because I need to make sure that you cover what you cost. And if you don't, then I still get rid of you and find somebody who can. And then I invest the energy in making sure I can find as many people as I can that can do as much as they can in what makes it worth me keeping you there. Period. Doesn't matter what the scenario is, digging holes, whatever the fuck stupid example we want to put out. It doesn't matter. You have to be worth more than I pay you for the time you were there. It doesn't matter what the example is. You have to be worth more than that. And if you're not, I have to find somebody who is. And so we can put the minimum wage number or whatever the fuck we want.
So you're saying the minimum wage how's the minimum wage affected? Are you saying that it's just like fucked over everybody? That everyone's just got to be more cutthroat because of minimum wage has been implemented?
I don't know what the specific examples are. I'd have to go back in time to figure it out.
Okay, so benefits to not having a minimum wage.
People get paid what the job is worth.
Enlighten me.
You get paid what the job is worth.
Gotcha.
All right,
we don't already have that in a capitalistic system?
No, we don't.
Oh, we don't.
How many people get paid more than they're worth? People don't get
paid what they're worth.
No, they don't. There are a fucking
I thought people did.
No, because they get paid minimum wage. There are thousands and thousands of jobs out there that are worth less than minimum wage.
So you can live off minimum wage.
We're not talking about live off of.
Wait.
Are we talking about live off of? Or did we go back to that part of the conversation? We were talking about whether you as an employee have value to me as the operator owner. That's what we were talking about. Yes, it matters to me, especially between you and I personally. It matters to me as an employee that your life is functional, that you can live. It matters to me a lot. But it doesn't change the fact that you still...
I thought your bottom line was to make sure that you pay your investors.
You are still... I am the investor. You are still more important. It is still more important to me that you make more for my company than I pay you.
Correct.
Period. And if I can't do that, something has to change.
I can see that as a logic, yes.
It's not a logic, it's a fact. Something has to change if that thing is not true. End of the day,
so
no matter,
businesses don't operate in the red or in the black, excuse me.
They have to operate in the black or they go out of business.
Gotcha. Okay.
You have to be worth more to me than what I pay you. Period. There's no way around that. But if you really look at the job, there is a value in the job outside of the particular company that is running the job.
Unless you get a government subsidy.
The minimum wage pushes wages up all the way across the board for all levels inside a company that is going to, at the end of the day, force more work out of everybody in the system than what their job should be. Because I have to keep that fact true at all times. If that fact is not true, the company dies. And then there's no job for anybody.
I mean, I could argue you look at the distribution of actual wealth of it.
Well,
you look at something like Fortune 500 companies.
Sure. Those Fortune 500 companies that, I don't know, can write off their losses against the taxes that you and I can't
writing
do.
off their losses. Sorry, go ahead.
Those companies that can get subsidies, the big banks that we joked about earlier, and, too big to fail kind of bullshit, that have lobby groups that help them make sure that even if they lose, somebody else pays for it. I don't know how much, I can't even fathom the amount of money that the banks made off of the first CARES Act. I can't even imagine how much money
There was
Morgan Chase made off
there
of
was
that
a number
first
of
fucking
large
CARES
companies
Act.
that got called out on it.
No, not even for taking advantage of the fucking straight CARES Act part of it. The fucking maybe not banks. What is it? Yeah, the PPP part of it. There's plenty of people that took all sorts of advantage of that part of it too, and even the banks got a bonus in that too. I mean, a bank loans a business money that the business doesn't have to pay back. The federal government goes ahead and pays what the company was going to pay back with the interest that the company should have paid back for it. Literally, the PPP loans was, hey, you got a business? Yes, I do. How many employees you got? This many. Here's $10,000. You don't have to pay that back. We'll figure out the paperwork. Government says, here's $15,000, bank. Good job. That is what the PPP loans were. And they didn't do dick for anybody. Anybody.
Nobody.
Fuck nobody. There is not a fucking business.
Nobody. But you're saying businesses need money more now, right?
Right, and all the businesses
So
that
all
took
the
that
money
shit.
they gave them before didn't do shit. But
Right,
all of a sudden they need more money now.
No, let's talk about what happened with the PPP loans. How many businesses that really, really, really fucking needed those PPP loans that took them are still in business today? Zero.
Oh, zero? There's none.
Maybe 5.
There's
Fuck,
none.
I don't know.
There's
that,
5.
That fucking needed it.
5 companies in all of the U.S. that needed PPP loans.
Yeah, probably.
The only ones that didn't go under.
I'll bet you the majority of people.
I bet you it's more than 5.
You're probably right. It's more than 5.
6, 7, maybe.
But the majority of the businesses and the employees that the PPP loans were supposed to save don't have jobs today.
I don't know. Maybe I'm way too far outside of it. But, I mean, you just driving down the main road that goes through our town, like, I don't see that many places that are fucking closed down. Like I said, maybe I'm outside of it and don't realize how many companies have actually, like, shut down. But
Right.
For the most part, I would say 85 to 90% of businesses are still going.
How many
I don't know how bad they're struggling.
Right. How many restaurants are still full staffed?
I don't know.
I'm
Don't
just
go to
saying.
too many.
I'm just saying. Right. Exactly. That's part of the problem. How many restaurants? How often did you go pick up food, or go into a restaurant and eat?
I didn't do that often before. Like I
How
pretty
often
much
do you do
got
it now?
fast
Less.
food.
Fast food.
No,
food?
about the same. I get fast food,
Right.
which hadn't had an issue whatsoever because everyone fucking loves fast food.
Right.
I should.
And I'll bet
I
you
should
some
be
of them
trying
got
to.
PPP loans too, but
I should be trying to help out smaller businesses. I just don't. I'm a lazy son of a bitch.
I'm not. I don't fault you for that. I'm just saying that the CARES Act and the PPP loan program didn't really help anybody. The people that they did help were the people that already had it and didn't need it. Period.
Well, I would love to see a greater audit of all this bullshit, and hopefully it will get remediated.
It's not gonna get remediated because that was the point. That's the
Because we'd have
problem.
to hire somebody else to do the math.
No, the problem is that the point was to do that. That was the point. They knew what they were doing,
Do it beforehand.
and they'll do it again. Because it was like we looked at it up last week.
I'm sorry all these big businesses have taken advantage of it. I mean, it's the same people that take advantage of, tax shit and cheat on their taxes
Right.
every year.
It's the big businesses that own the government, and I didn't think I was going to be that guy, but I'm becoming that guy. But it still fits within my libertarianism-ishness anyway, because they are part of the government. They are part of the game. They push and pull the levers, and they make the shit happen
They have the lobby
for their
power.
own.
Right.
And that's a fucking problem. And we sit here and we're just like, "Ooh, I don't want to fucking worry about terrorists. I don't care if I can eat tomorrow or if I have a fucking house. That's what matters is, they're here to protect me, but they're going to let me fucking starve and live on the street
No, I mean,
while we bomb brown and black people all over the world."
I've talked about it on here before, is that we don't realize like how many people are out there living. Literally, I mean, I'm trying to remember what last it was like 1 in 3, 1 in 4 kids that goes to elementary, middle school or whatever, and then literally doesn't know when the next
Right.
their
And yet
meal's
we're
gonna be
the
coming
richest country on the planet, and somehow we can't do shit about it.
from. Right.
I've literally I've shifted gears on this one, and I apologize for getting
Like
so
Max
excited
was
about it.
shitting on the school, free lunch program that was going on. He's
And
like,
took
I don't
him-
get why they're still doing it. It's like you still have people out there that literally don't know like where their next meal is going to come from.
Right. But
Like this is not the time to pull that shit away. Like that was going on before we had the pandemic.
And I don't disagree with that, but the problem is that we're doing so many other stupid fucking things instead.
Yeah, we do a lot of fucking stupid things.
Mostly,
I don't want to discount the that that's a stupid thing to do.
No, I'm not. No, I'm not implying that the school food thing was a stupid thing. I'm saying we're doing other stupid things instead of doing better with that. We're focused on other stupid things. I mean,
That's what the media's good at, keeping us
fuck
focused
yeah.
on other shit.
I mean, I will argue. Jimmy Dore's quote. I don't know if I agree. I'm gonna hedge my bet. Jimmy Dore says we get 2 new wars out of Biden. I'm gonna stick with 1.
I don't think any.
Dude.
I keep hearing all these like right wing radio hosts that are just like, oh, they keep saying like the Biden Kamala.
Jimmy Dore is harder left than Biden is.
All right, thanks for letting me finish. Anyway, that Kamala is going to be like Kamala's really the next president. I don't know if they're implying that
Yeah, Ben Shapiro's got
Biden's going to die, or that Kamala's the one really wearing the quote unquote pants in the household or some bullshit. Like I don't quite get the logic behind it, but I keep hearing it more often.
Ben Shapiro's got a running
right.
Ben Shapiro's got a running joke of Biden better have a food taster around. Like that's his running joke. You better keep a food taster. You're going old school, like kings and queens shit, where they poison each other to death. And again, I don't know that I fully agree with the premise of. I don't know that I fully agree with the premise that I don't know. I'm still kind of on the fence on whether I think Biden's going to die in office or not. That's beside the point. But I don't know. Fuck. How do I word this? I think Biden. I can't figure out what Biden is. Talking to or listening to some of the people I listen to, it's the hard left version of, and that's what he's going to turn into. He can't push back against the hard left. Other people I listen to talk about how he is really just Obama Jr. and his cabinet picks seem to look like more Obama than progressive, in my opinion. Most of the picks he's had so far that I've seen were the assistants, were the vice president of whatever fucking office he's replacing them with. And so I don't know what Biden is actually. I can't figure out how I feel like Biden's going to run the country for the time he gets to do it. And I know I joked about him dying, and I still am concerned about his cognitive health, I guess, for lack of a better word. But how do I word this? I don't think that he is. I think that he is building a cabinet, that he's building a White House that is going to be very much an Obama version of it. And that if we really look at what Obama did on a number of issues, they are not things that I personally am comfortable with. Democrat, Republican, doesn't fucking matter. I'm talking about Yemen. I'm talking about Syria. I'm talking about a bunch of the fucking Middle East shit that Obama did. I think Obama kickstarted the some of the cultural revolution shit that isn't really good revolution, but I don't think. I think it's possible that he dies in office. I don't think it's guaranteed. I know I joked about it. I don't know that I think he is going to die in office, but I know that there are people out there that would like him to. Lawyer Jamie, happy birthday, buddy. It's your birthday today.
It's your birthday.
Lawyer Jamie is excited about the premise that the most racist shitbag fucking president in the history of America is going to be bookended by 2 black people. Quote.
What?
That's what Jamie said.
It doesn't quite work.
Well, that's Jamie's premise. Because basically what I took from that is what little time Biden's going to be in office isn't going to really count for anything, and it's going to be covered by. So basically, it's going to be Obama, Trump, Harris. Which again, I could give a shit. It doesn't fucking matter. But it's fun to talk about. I guess what I'm getting at is I don't know that I'm concerned. He's an old fucking dude. And there are definitely moments where you're like, fucking Christ, what is happening right now? Who is he talking to? Where does he think he is? There have been moments of those.
You haven't seen that in any Trump press conferences.
I'm not talking about Trump. I'm talking about Biden. We're
I'm just juxtaposing.
right, but we're not juxtaposing. We're talking about what's in front of us. We're not talking about what's behind us.
Who's the
hopefully.
president of the United States right now?
Donald J. Trump.
Okay. I'm sorry you had to think about that so long, but yes, you're correct.
Right, but we're not talking about Donald Trump. We're talking about Biden.
I'm sorry. You were saying.
I'm saying that there is evidence that there could be a problem with his cognitive ability and or general health as a live human being. I don't know that I know that it was fun to talk about, and I don't know that some of those concerns have dissipated technically, but I don't really care. I don't really think it matters. I think they're both establishment debacle messes. It's not going to fucking matter. The process of the Biden cabinet seats filled by subsect first, ability second is gross, but whatever. If it's a lady or if it's a person of color, they get it first. Great. Good for you. Do your thing. I still am against Jimmy Dore. I think it's going to be 1, not 2 new wars, but I think we're going to go either to Iran or North Korea. Like officially as well as we do official wars anymore. We're going to go into at least one of those 2 countries in the next 4 years. But that's for next week. We're going to do our predictions for next week.
Yeah, I don't see it happening.
Why not?
I don't.
I mean, he put a Raytheon exact.
I don't think we'll ever have troops set on the Korean Peninsula or in North Korea at least.
I was about to say we have a ton of troops on
Right.
the Korean Peninsula
we
right
assist
now.
in their what do they call them? Like war games, basically. That we've been doing with South
I
Korea.
mean, my brother-in-law was in Korea for 6 years, and of his deployment
Right.
was in South Korea and hanging out.
I know we have
doing
troops
shit.
there, but I mean, as far as in a tactical.
I mean, I don't see the value in it, if I'm honest, but whatever. We need something to distract us from all the infighting that we have right now. So what's it gonna be?
I would think at this point we would literally almost wipe North Korea off the face of the earth if we.
Yeah, but that's what we're gonna do. Iraq. Those are what we're supposed to do to Iraq and that kind of shit too. They're so simple. They're little easy targets. We can just fucking wipe them off and move on with our lives. Okay, so I guess the better question is what gets us out of right now? Obviously, the pandemic has to pass. We can't undo the pandemic. The pandemic passes, right? We get through the pandemic shit. What
We got the Trump virus.
What
It's
greater
all over with now?
What greater
It's-
distraction?
Is weather getting warm enough yet?
What greater distraction are we going to fight over?
We're getting colder.
What greater distraction are we going to fight over? What is maybe the better word is what unifying factor are we going to pull out of nowhere to avoid talking about some of the real shit that's happening?
That's an interesting discussion just to kind of, start.
I gotta pee. I can hear you.
You can hear me.
I can hear you.
Unifying factor in the U.S. I mean, it's really going to start with an attempted unifying the country behind one cause. I mean, of course, the most major thing in the forefront of most people's minds is the pandemic. But I mean, outside of that, there's not much that really brings a lot of people together.
How do I impact it?
I mean, people are going to argue over a multitude of facts.
Okay, so let me.
I don't have much on a great unifying force
Okay, let's
coming into 2021.
all right. Let's get grossly cynical for a second. I was thinking about it while I was peeing. I apologize. Sam was talking to himself, and it was weird. What?
Want to get cynical?
Yeah, I'm trying to think of how to word this. What was going on in July 2001.
It wasn't the Olympics.
I'm just saying, like, where were we as a country pre 9/11? Like, what were we doing? What were we fighting about? What were we arguing about internally? That we all immediately shut that switch off. Whatever it was, me, you, black, white, boy, girl, whatever the fucking argument was.
Right.
What was going on that we stopped talking about because we were too angry at a group of Saudis who we blamed on Iraq or whatever, it doesn't matter, that flew planes into buildings.
I mean, 2021, there wasn't much.
Okay. So, but it took that. It took that event to get the most unified that I can remember in my lifetime that we were as a country.
Right.
So, if you're literally, your goal is to try to unify by any means right now, what do you have to do? That's what I'm kind of getting at. We need a real enemy.
You need something to focus upon. You need something that
We need aliens.
invokes emotion, that makes people feel for other people. I mean, the most like forefront in most people's minds right now is the pandemic, and
Right.
there has been, just a kind of division where there's a lot of people just don't get their heartstrings pulled upon it.
That's what I'm. That's one of the things I'm most afraid of. I think that, and me being of the group that.
I mean, that's my fear of this thing ever like ending, just because there's a large chunk of people that.
It's not even that. It's just I fear that there are so many people that are so cynical at this point of the whole thing, probably rightfully so, that it doesn't matter. There is no unifying factor anymore. That's the fear, or the reality. It may be a positive. I don't know. I hear different versions of the same thing, and I like, oh, okay, that makes sense. Okay, well, yeah, but
Well, no, I mean, there's what the Surgeon General came out and said there was the quarantine fatigue essentially.
well, I'm not even talking pandemic anymore. I'm talking just societally in general.
Yeah.
There were I think there are so many people that are so cynical about what this society that we live in is anymore that it doesn't fucking matter what it is. It doesn't matter what new enemy we have, what great threat that is going on. They don't trust it. They don't trust that the threat is real. They don't trust that the people that are fighting the threat are real, or that the best interests of anybody's in mind when things are happening.
That's kind of been the blessing and the curse of the 24-hour news cycle and, expansion of social media.
See, I don't know if I'd blame it on that, though.
I do.
I get it. I get what you're saying. I just don't know that I blame it on that. I think the reality is that I think if anything, that social media and this onslaught of knowledge and information that we can get now, whether it's good or bad,
it exploits the lack of information I think that people have.
but I think it also, for those that are paying attention, I think it shows some major faults and cracks in the system that we can't functionally fix. Not that they're unfixable. It's just we can't functionally fix them in the way the system works. Is this
comedian that's joking? You can't fix stupid.
It's not even you can't fix stupid. It's like you could fix it and you can acknowledge it, but you can't you can't get the gears to roll. Like this gridlock that we were joking about in the party chair episode. Like this gridlock is at a new level of it doesn't fucking matter. They did it, no.
Right.
And for anybody paying attention that is affiliated or not affiliated with either of the parties, it doesn't fucking matter because you can't get the parties to do anything because they need to say no, or they need to say yes, or they need to do whichever version of their side of the game is. And it's all about the game anymore to them. And it's not in a bad way. It's just they have a goal to do what they do, and they're going to do what they do. But you and I we can all sit and look at it, and it's like a crack in a dam. We can all sit and point at it and look at it, but none of us can decide what to do with it. We can try to plug it. We can all run away, but one person says plug, and the other person says no because that person said plug. I say run. We're all sitting here looking at a dam about to break, and what do? I say it, you automatically say no. It doesn't matter. And even because when you get into the system version of it, it's all of these people say yes, all of these people say no, and then all these people say yes, all these people say no as a reaction to the yes, and then there's all these other people sitting here watching it and going like, do something. You can't just not do anything. We can't just sit here and watch this thing fall on our faces. Do something. And they can't because of the way the system is rolling. There's no do. It doesn't matter anymore about actually doing a thing. And that's the fear I guess I have, is that there's no end to the gridlock, where there's a lot of times for me personally where I like the idea of the gridlock. The less they do, the less they can get done, the better. Because the less they can do and the less they can get done, the less they're interfering with shit. But they put all so fucking structure and shit in place that it's too late. Some things have to be done. And if they can't agree on it just on principle because the other person started the game, then we're just sitting here watching the damn fall.
Yeah, I mean, I think some arguments are definitely brought about to then like discredit the other side when they know it's a futile attempt to even try to do it. But I would like to think there was more, conciliation in times past, which I don't think are as common in the past, 5-10 years.
That's the thing. That's what I was thinking about when I was working today, and I was thinking about the party chair episode and what I want to talk about and stuff like that. And it's like, I just want to go forward. I just want to look forward. What's next? What are we doing about this? What's on the horizon? And the more I thought about it, the more I didn't even know how to approach it. And that I don't even know what to ask about how we're going to do the next thing. Because what is the next thing? We don't know what it is yet. I just don't know. I don't care about, I care about the election, and then there's the thought experiment that I do want to do, and I really want to dig into deeply. It's kind of too late, but I don't like. My concern is moving forward. Moving forward is all that matters. Yesterday is important. It's important. It made us this. It's important to acknowledge what yesterday was, but it's not something we need to spend time talking about. We need to figure out how to move forward from where we are. And if moving forward is dependent on yesterday, then we have a real problem. If we can't move forward without talking about yesterday, then I don't know what to do. Because I don't want to talk about yesterday anymore. Yesterday doesn't change. Okay, yeah, I fucked up yesterday. I did something stupid yesterday. It doesn't matter what it is, whether it's personally, whether it's just interpersonally, like normal, just regular relationships between two people, or the big relationship that is the government and their involvement in our lives. Yesterday doesn't matter. We're in place. We're doing things. Now it comes to election time. Yeah, sure. We need to talk about yesterday because you did this thing last time and that was a fucked up thing to do. And we're not okay with that. And you don't need to get voted back in because of the fucked up things you did yesterday. But we're operational now. We're continuing to talk about what we're doing, where we're going, what we care about. And I don't know that happens. We're too busy brownie pointing things up, figuring out how to put another notch on my belt and how to take a notch off of yours.
Yeah.
And I don't know what to do about that. And I don't see that getting better. And that's what scares me. I don't see it changing. I just see it getting deeper. And whether it's Trump's fault, which it's not, or anybody else. Because it's not Trump's fault, because he's a consequence of the game. He isn't the game. He didn't make this game. He just made the game that already sucked worse.
No, he had pollsters that were telling him like, "Hey, what key points should I say that's gonna
everybody has
get me
that.
the most?" Right. I mean, that's politics.
I mean, he's just dumb enough to say some of the shit you're not supposed to say out loud, and then people are like, "What the fuck?"
I mean, that he says all sorts of stupid shit that makes you forget about all the other stupid shit.
Right. I mean, what's the guy that what's the conspiracy theory guy?
I can't remember if I brought it up last time. I probably was
Alex Jones.
Alex Jones, yeah.
Yeah, Alex Jones is the same thing. Alex Jones and Trump are the same person. They say everything out loud.
Bam.
They say everything out loud, and every once in a while they're right. But you're too busy distracted by all the stupid shit they said out loud the time before.
Okay.
Trump has said shit that no politician has ever said before, and not in the bad way.
Right. He verbally threatened war crimes, which I'd like to think that no other president has ever done before.
And there's only one other president that has acknowledged the military-industrial complex. That was Eisenhower. There's only a handful. I don't know of anybody who's talked about some of the shit and has talked about some of the deep state shit that's real. I don't give a fuck how you want to rationalize it. That the CIA, FBI shit that they do on a regular basis, there's no other president that's talked about it other than maybe Kennedy, who got shot, and maybe about them or not. I don't know. There's not a lot of people that have talked about certain things that he's talked about as a president. And some of them are bad and stupid and fucking crazy, and some of them are fucking real.
Reagan took credit for Iran-Contra.
Right.
Just because he was the one in charge.
Last president, one of the last presidents to actually fucking do anything.
A few things
like
I admire him for was when Oliver North, came out with that, and he said,
"Yep, I fucked up."
He didn't fuck up, but he said he was like, I was in command.
Right.
I take full responsibility for the people that work under me.
Right.
He was one of the last presidents that have ever done that.
I'm pretty sure the last, but
yeah, one of the last presidents that has ever done that. Instead of just throwing him under the bus, I'm sorry for the people that
because Bill Clinton did not get a blowjob, but he did. But anyway,
right.
And something so fucking benign as a blowjob, but he still had to lie about it because he thought he had to.
He still lied about it
because he thought he had to. And again, I'm not even going to fault him for that shit because he thought he had to. I think realistically,
I feel he had to.
I'll give him the credit. I will give him the credit to say
the odds were already against him. That's the only I still don't understand is why he still went on because he did whatever kind of fucking 60 minutes interview it was and was like,
for some reason,
I did not have sexual relations with that woman. It's like,
well, that's a very lawyer answer too. I mean, it's it's very lawyer answer. Well, it's not technically I didn't fuck her, but whatever. It's a technicality answer.
Fellatio is sexual relations.
I agree. I'm just saying. Technically, I don't know. You could lawyer terms. That's a lawyer. I mean, it feels like a lawyer answer. But end of the day, point being,
is that a law degree or not?
Such a dumbass. I mean, it's such a dumbass thing. It's such a dumbass thing to feel like you have to lie for that. But I think he felt like he had to lie for that.
But I don't get it. With everything he knew that was in the power and scope of the U.S. intelligence agencies and whatnot. Why try to refute it? You know that shit's going to come out.
No, somebody's going to die somewhere that might not have to answer the question that makes it true. Because for whatever reason she kept the dress. Really, I mean, for whatever reason she kept the dress is what really screwed the game. Whether she had some malicious intent to keep the dress because she felt like she needed to, or whatever reason she kept that dress is really the game.
Right.
That's wow. How do we get to that? Yeah. I mean, again, point being is and again, it goes back to we talked about this last week. Is that Knox County Sheriff's Office got sued and lost from that whatever fucking information suit.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Knox County Sheriff's Office lost. So some professor at the university was trying to get information about a certain thing, and they denied him the information. It was a Freedom of Information Act or something like that. I can't remember what it was. I can't remember the specifics of it, but essentially Knox County Sheriff's Office lost a lawsuit to an individual. And it's one of those...
She's looking for government funding.
But it doesn't... I mean, whatever the point is... The point is the Sheriff's Office doesn't lose because they still exist no matter what.
Right.
Where's the accountability? That's the problem. The accountability for, again... giving Reagan the credit for taking, whether he had anything directly to do with it or not, it was under his watch. He took that personally. He stated that publicly,
right.
That he was on the hook for that. Probably knew better. Probably knew enough to know that it wasn't really going to affect him on the grand scheme of things. So he probably knew the politics of the situation, that he was going to get away with it anyway.
I think he had a decent approval rating at the time,
right? But
and it looks, it looks better on me looking at it in hindsight.
Right.
It's like, hey.
And he had better foresight of his legacy to know that that's going to look better on him, that he made a mistake. People make mistakes. Presidents are going to make mistakes. All of them do it all the time. And
that's what any good leader of a
CEO
or whatever does. It's like, it happened on my watch.
Right. Trying to deny that you had anything to do with it or whatever makes it worse in the long run. But the point being is that was Reagan.
That,
And we are now how many presidents past Reagan, and nobody plays that game anymore. It's all somebody else's fault. It wasn't me. If it was me, it was because of this, that, and the other. There's no accountability in the game anymore. What's the loss? What's going to happen? What's going to happen? I mean, okay, so let's be realistic. Like, as much as Trump is hated, as much publicly
hated, but as much as he's thrown anybody and everybody else under the bus.
That's fine. As much as, again, just to, and it's a good illustration of the point, and I'm not pro-Trump on this at all.
And I don't know that much about the previous presidents, but I don't think it's been that much of an issue.
But as much as Trump has been a shitbag, and I agree that he's been a shitbag, come January 21st, what's going to happen to Trump?
He's going to start his own TV show.
Okay. What real negatives are coming to Trump other than he didn't get his second term? Nothing.
There's still lawsuits pending.
Where's the accountability? There's no accountability.
There's still lawsuits pending.
No, there's no accountability at the end of the day and all the bullshit. There's not.
Accountability of what?
Anything. All the things that Trump's fucking
Are you
terrible
saying
at.
he's done bad things?
Have I ever said have I ever tried to pretend that he doesn't?
No, I just didn't know if you were actually talking about specifics.
He, just like the past probably 6 or 7 presidents, should be hung for war crimes. All of them. Obama, Bush, Clinton, all need to be hung for war crimes.
I mean, that's one thing I don't know. Did we talk about it on here? Well, I was talking about the whole Soleimani thing.
Mm-hmm.
I think it gives other countries credence to then do basically the same thing
Oh,
we just
did. Soleimani's secondary, but sure, that's one of many. It's a very small one of many.
When was the last time we did something like that?
Killed some random fucking brown person around the world? You do right now. Right now. Hold on, let me count to 10. Right now.
That's not what the U.S. government considered Soleimani, but okay. Yeah, he wasn't just some random brown,
okay.
brown
Well,
person
he's
to
a
them.
special brown person. I'm sorry.
Okay. I don't get your derogatory comment there.
I'm not. I do not consider the brown person derogatory. I consider it's just some other fucking person. The U.S. government kills people every fucking day, all day long, all over the fucking world.
Okay. This was a person that was highly revered upon, at least in Iran's viewpoint.
Okay, so a country that
A
we
high
have
level-
known conflict with.
Essentially, like top 5 important people in their country.
Mm-hmm. Who, according to our intelligence, is
Right.
a major operator and funder and
Gotcha.
organizer of terrorist groups or
Right.
something like that.
Right.
So he's like Osama bin Laden from Iran. That's essentially kind of the gist I got from him. I don't know. I don't really follow it because it's over there. It's none of my fucking business. It's none of your business. It's none of our business as Americans. Personally.
Okay, so it was right to bomb him and kill him, or no?
I don't know. I was agreeing that is probably a war crime,
Okay.
but that is small
Oh no,
on the list of.
My point was saying I think it just opens up the door to then give the same justification for other countries to do the same thing.
Well, I mean, okay, so was this the nuclear scientist that got assassinated not long ago?
Yeah.
Yeah, that story.
Iran.
Be careful, buddy. Yeah, that guy. That to me is why we're going to go to war with Iran. Is that we're going to...
Who killed him? I heard a little bit about him.
I don't
I'm vague
know.
at the moment.
I heard some. I mean, I don't know. Obviously, I don't think anybody that has been public about it has really made it. There's been inferences here or there, but I think it's going to get blamed on Trump, and Biden's going to be like, "Well, we have to defend X, Y, or Z because Iran's fighting back because of what Trump did."
Oh, that's right. Okay, now I remember. Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was a nuclear scientist. Apparently, he was "quote unquote" an academic, but he was also a part of the Iranian nuclear program. And the last Last
It was
thing I
Israel.
read was
it like Israel or something like
most
that? Had something to do with it?
Yeah, it was most likely Israel.
And
But
then
I remember hearing, like, and it wasn't too long before that, there was some weird thing about Netanyahu and Pompeo being in Saudi Arabia. But then Pompeo's people never acknowledged it, or Pompeo's peoples did, but then Netanyahu peoples didn't acknowledge that they had actually gone to Saudi Arabia. But it was some weird, like,
coincidence.
a couple of people
I
like
think
had said
not.
that, like, hey, like these people were meeting in Saudi Arabia, and a couple of people like were like, no, we didn't do that.
I was saying it's going to get blamed on. Here's my prediction, which I was going to say for next week. My prediction is that Iran's going to do something to retaliate for said assassination, either directly with Israel or directly with us. And then Biden's going to put us in war with Iran because
I think
it's Trump's fault we have to do this war.
I
But
think we're going to push more for rejoining the Iran nuclear deal. There's going
I
to be
don't know
some
what
weird
the ends and-
stipulation to it, but
I don't know what the ends are, though. I don't understand the
I
premise.
think they're going to go along with it. I mean, which the way the 21st century is, I think more and more countries with nuclear capabilities realize the destruction that can happen if they decide to throw theirs out. That they're just going to get annihilated with a nuclear
But that's why
bomb.
you want one. That's why I want to have one. I want to have one because
We did that in the fucking Cold War, and that didn't get us anywhere.
sure it did.
No, mutually assured destruction does not work.
Did we go to direct open conflict with Russia?
Okay, that's your one justifying fact of it?
I mean,
Do you know how close we were? How many times we were
Sure.
within like seconds of it?
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, well, that's whatever. Yeah. We were within like 5-10 seconds.
Right, and the
of,
only
like,
thing, what was the only thing that stopped it? The other side retaliating.
No, for the most part, it was humans
Right.
that actually made a stop to it.
That didn't want to die.
No, that had the presence of mind that they didn't want to start a nuclear war.
Right. So
Where we literally had like B-52 bombers that were caught going over Russia.
right. So when
Instead of that
you're
person like hitting the red button to shoot it off, or
right. So when
when
you're
we-
the
we
guy,
had a fucking training manual disc going through our thing that
right. When you're the guy,
simulated a nuclear missiles launch, and we had seconds to decide whether or not to send off missiles. And thankfully, that person was like, "Hey, the premier of Russia is actually in New York City right now, so there's no way
right.
that
So
they would be sending off nuclear missiles."
so when you're the guy running
but
that
we
thought
were
process,
within seconds of sending nuclear missiles to Russia. But-
okay. those
okay.
individuals,
Now you can cut me off. Go
those
ahead.
individuals that made the right decision to not do the thing would not have made the same decision had Russia not had nukes too.
That's a really complicated question to try to even ask.
I'm just saying, like the reason the reason that they are
Hypothetically, yes, if they didn't have nuclear weapons, those decisions would not have been made. But if they didn't have nuclear weapons, maybe we wouldn't have as many nuclear weapons. So I don't know what question you're even trying to propose here.
well the
What
weapons
hypothetical are you even going at?
we can't the weapons exist. We can't unexist them, right?
Yes.
We can.
Yes.
So okay, we can't. All right, I apologize. We can unexist the weapons, but we cannot unexist the knowledge of the ability to make the weapons.
True.
Okay. So, the fortunate people that were on the edge of making the decision, that opted not to, for whatever reason they opted not to, knowing that if they did, it started a chain of events that was the end of humanity. Right?
Yeah.
But the only reason they knew it started the chain of events that in humanity is because the other side have them. It's the same premise. It's the same premise as an armed society is an honest society. What's the phrase? It's a phrase. An armed public is an honest public or something like that.
I'm not sure.
Is that you don't go around being an asshole to people when you know most people have guns on them. It's kind of the joke. It's a joke phrase, but you don't go around swinging your gun around, being a dick, when you know that a lot of people that you're swinging guns around at have guns too.
Okay.
That the premise of mutually just it's a counterintuitive premise, the mutually assured destruction thing. It's counterintuitive in the sense that I have the ability to do massive damage, but I'm not going to do the massive damage because they do too. I'm not advocating for the premise that every country should have their own nuclear weapons.
That's what
Just to keep.
That's when we get into what exactly we were into was an essential arms race,
Right.
where it was just one-upping one another.
Right, and
as to part of the
and yet we
sophistication
continue
of the weapons that we have, and yet we still do it.
Right, and yet we continue to do so, and we will continue to do so until the end of society. At some point, the wheels will fall off, and we're going to go there. It's going to happen. I think.
I mean, I would like
hope
to think
not.
at this point we've already figured out like
All right, I think
enough to essentially like take a whole country like off the face of the map, literally.
right.
Like I don't know how much like further we need, unless
Right.
you want to get into like biological
Well, I just
warfare.
think
where
at some point down the
you're
road,
doing the damage without actual like
Right.
collateral like physical damage.
but I think that the continued arms race is going to continue to happen. I mean, whatever it is, whatever the new weapon of choice is.
right, a lot of it's going into space.
Right. But I'm just saying,
Where
like,
essentially, you take out a satellite,
Right, but
you've
what does that
literally
do?
taken
Okay.
off.
so, I'm sorry. Go ahead. I apologize. Continue.
Or you go into space where you're talking about taking out people's capabilities of communicating with one another and coordination of resources and actual, pinpointing of, if you're going to have an airstrike done, that's all done off of like GPS.
So,
You take out those satellites, you don't know where the fuck you're going.
so Space Force is a good idea?
Don't know the exact ramifications, extent of what exactly Space Force is doing, but yeah, if that's what they're doing. Because I did actually see.
I mean, the show was great.
The show was fucking awesome. The show was fucking awesome.
But honestly, what's funny about the show is that I actually rationalized the need more because of the show.
All right.
Like,
That's
it makes
what-
sense.
I think it was like an MIT guy. Somebody, no, I think it was actually somebody that was a part of Space Force or that was in that kind of like realm of like, national intelligence, talking about satellites. And there's a bunch of space junk that's out there in general, but, he was kind of pointing out to the fact that I was just saying, it's like, all it takes is, taking out a couple satellites and then all of a sudden, that one country literally has like,
no eyes.
yeah,
Right.
you got no eyes.
Right.
You've got no satellite imagery of the area that you're getting ready to go into.
So I guess
We're going back to old school days where we've got a reconnaissance airplane trying to take pictures of areas you're getting ready to go into.
All right, so I guess to take it to step back a second, and it's like, so what does it fucking matter if Iran has nukes? Because they don't have they don't have space capability like we and a number of other countries have. We have the ability to dominate them on what is the next level of warfare.
Well, I mean, they're literally half the world away from us, but they know that we have allies, essentially Israel, very close to them, that they can then bomb, that I'm assuming we have some kind of mutual protection pact with.
Right, which will bomb them back. Which, best case scenario for them, they can put something here on the ground to us, mainland. But at the end of the day, they're off the map before then because they don't have the next. Again, I guess my point is that the real next level of warfare, as you said, is getting into space, getting into the higher levels. There is another level, and nukes are not the top level anymore. I guess is my point. So what does it matter
They're
if they
more the final level.
right? And to give them to give Iran just a weird benefit of the doubt scenario, what if they are developing nuclear technology for infrastructure's sake, for power plants and for other things? What does it fucking matter to us? Because they don't, like, realistically, they don't.
It's more like the fear of their capability of it.
Okay, I mean, I get that, but what right do we have to tell them they don't have the right to develop nuclear power plants?
Right. I've
Because
had
we're
I've had
afraid that they
same
might use it
quandary
for
themselves. As how special are we? They're like, well, we can have it, but you can't.
Right. And that to me is like, we're not going to assist you with it. You develop it on your own. And we're going to keep a close eye on you. And if you try to do anything fucking shitty, we're going to fucking wipe you off the map
right,
because we can.
that's where it gets into that kind of collective national conscience of kind of like the UN type looking at it is, you're looking at your past history as a country in general, as far as, human rights abuses and whatnot, and your previous war history.
Right, but we're the worst at it.
Right. But I mean, but that's more where you've got, either the U.S. trying to tell you this, or you've got a collective of United Nations.
Right, but it's
saying
still
like,
all
like, hey, we're not against you, but you haven't had a good track record. We're going to keep our eye on you. We might
is that what the Iran nuclear deal was? So that's one of the things for me. I don't know what the deal was.
I don't remember exactly. I want to say part of the Iran nuclear deal was we had sanctions against Iran for the longest time, and we decided we would ease the sanctions against Iran.
I know, like Obama sent like pallets of cash or some shit.
Yeah, that was one of the rumors. I
don't know shit about that.
Right. But I think that that was part of the deal. Essentially, we had all these sanctions against them that were essentially hurting them.
Right, we would open up, give them access. Right.
If they would agree to, dismantle, their uranium enrichment facilities.
But I don't think it was dismantle. I think it was just cease operations.
Yeah.
Which is
apparently they've just gone underground.
Right.
Supposedly.
That was right. Which I don't know. I mean, I don't know how much I believe that personally. I don't know. Again, I don't know how much I believe that they're doing anything.
Right. Is another yellow cake thing? It's like, oh no, we saw satellite images that point to this or that.
Yeah, they have things that might look like the things that we don't like the things, and it's like again, my.
I have the same thought that you do. It's like, well, we're doing the same fucking shit. It's like, why do we get to do it, but they don't?
Right. That's my thing. Is why is it? I mean, not even that. Is that why is it any of our business? We know we are perfectly capable of keeping a solid eye on making sure that they don't have the capability of actually doing anything to us. That's reality. We can do that. We can do that without touching them, without talking to them, without any other things. We can know whether they have the capability of actually doing any real damage.
Not if they move it underground. We can hide it just as well as they can.
Okay.
Or they can hide it just as well as we can. Whatever.
And I would still argue that we have the ability to see that too. That we have CIA persons that are in and they're working that are part of the game. And we
you
can
would
know
like
exactly
to think that, but you want to shrink the Defense Department budget.
Sure. Those things are not mutually exclusive.
I mean, it's.
I don't know. I'm at the point.
It's a really fucking crazy geopolitical game.
I'm at the point where I think that I'm at the my base stance is the more we poke, the more enemies we make. The more we make you do what we ask, the more we inflict our view of what you should or shouldn't be doing on you, the more enemies we make.
I mean, it just opens up the door to our own criticisms.
That's what, yeah, right.
We were talking about, racial strife, 50 years ago. It's how much can we really say against other countries when we were doing the same shit 50 years ago? Right,
and again, even if we speak out against it, it's not going to change. We saying you should do like. on a geopolitical conversation, we telling you what to do is not the way to do things. We exampling what to do is the way to do things.
Exactly.
And if we can't example, and okay, sure, we have a history. You have a history too. If we can acknowledge the fact that we both have histories, then we can't talk.
I'm trying to remember where I saw it. There was one thing they were talking about that, and it was kind of like, post kind of Cold War and the fall of the Iron Curtain. And that, the one thing we had going for us was, this kind of like capitalism in America was great, and that's what kind of like turned a lot of, the USSR becoming a little bit more like westernized, as they saw the great things that America could do.
Right.
And then we've kind of gotten to the point now where they're kind of seeing all the bad things that we can do, and it's making some of those people kind of like second guess.
Right. Well, I mean, the reality,
we've
the end of the day,
lost that like envy of these cold world era states of like envious of the United States, and now we're not exactly envied
Somehow,
by a lot of countries.
Somehow we have become what we revolted against.
Part of it, yeah.
I mean, not.
We've
I'd say that's
become
part
like
of the
an
conversation.
occupying force, just
We are-
like the USSR taking over countries.
Not even that. We are the English of the 1750s.
Yeah, we don't quite have,
We're
the
not.
sun never sets on the British Empire.
I would argue that the sun never sets on American occupied places.
Yeah, bases, and as far as like occupied,
I mean, I don't know.
it's a good swath of Asia we don't occupy.
Yeah, but I mean, that's Northern Hemisphere. We got all sorts of shit in Australia and India and all the fucking Middle
There's
East
a lot
and
of space
Africa.
between Australia and Africa in the Southern Hemisphere.
India.
British colony.
Well, which is now, I mean, it's an American colony, but whatever.
Oh, is it an American colony?
It is now. Just, I mean,
Did we take over
India.
India?
India is the new China. I
We
mean,
have not tried to take over India.
we haven't taken over, but we're in their fucking geopolitical bullshit too. We're in their business. We're in everybody's fucking business.
To an extent, yes.
And
I mean, that's the crazy thing about globalization is it does become involving of so many different nations because you've got so many different, world powers that have, either a large industry in these countries.
right. And I guess the real question, I mean,
Where you get into, countries essentially influencing politics, which
right. And to what end? And that's the real question. Is to what's the end? And who are the players that are making the ends? That's why I bought some Raytheon. That's why I bought some Halliburton. Because those are the ends. I mean, I
hope you're wrong and there's not like a world war starting. But
I hope I'm wrong too. But I mean, the end of the day, it's hard for me to it's hard for me to deny the rationalization that military spending in the U.S. government is the most consistently gonna get done, gonna get paid industry in the fucking world. Example being right now, amidst the pandemic, when people are starving and about to get kicked out of their houses, about 20 million of them, we can make sure that the Defense Department has their budget to go do what they do. There's no way that Boeing's not getting paid. There's no way that Northrop Grumman is not getting paid right now.
right.
That's not an excuse. There's no excuse that makes it okay for defense partners to not get paid. Doesn't matter. There's nothing above that in the world that I live in. So I bought some. Because if they're getting paid, I'm going to get a little bit.
Right.
And that's fucking bullshit.
I agree.
And we need to do better.
Who has more bitching power? That major company or 1,500 employees?
Well, it's not fucking employees. Citizens, period. I don't have to work for, I don't have to do anything. I pay fucking taxes. You're supposed to work for me. And you're not. And you continue to not. And you haven't.
Right, but you being a citizen and working for that company doesn't really give you that much more power. I don't know.
What?
You as a voter are more than just an employee of that specific company. You have a lot more power than just,
Yeah, exactly. That's my point.
Right.
Is that it doesn't matter what company I work for. I don't work for Boeing. I don't work for Northrop Grumman. I'm going to make money off them if I can. But I don't want to be at war. I don't want to spend $1 trillion a year on military. It doesn't make sense. But Northrop Grumman and Boeing and Raytheon and all these other fucks, they want to go to war. They want to stay at war. They want to stay in constant bullshit. Because that's how they make money.
Right.
Because Uncle Sam's going to pay the bill. And as long as we can keep this shit happening, I
Their
can keep
checks don't
making
bounce.
right. You know, we can keep getting paid. And I don't care about you. I don't care about Joe Citizen. Doesn't fucking matter. And at some point, it's going to come to a head, whether it's a peaceful political head where we say, we're not okay with this anymore. We're not going to continue to vote in you fucking idiots that continue to do the same thing over and over and over and over again. We're done with it. Or it just stops. We stop putting money in. There's a point, there is some point where the money can't happen. Where municipalities have to raise taxes to keep roads and keep all this other shit. And then the federal government's also asking for their 20 fucking percent or whatever the fuck it is. And we as citizens be like, we can't fucking do this anymore. There's a line somewhere in this. And when it gets to that where we can't do this anymore, that's when fucking shit comes down. Where we start shooting each other in the fucking streets. We cannot continue, you know, you want to talk about living wage, we cannot continue to give a huge chunk of that off to things that don't make sense, that don't function for me and you. You know, minimum wage is whatever. You know, we can argue in minimum wage all we want. How much of that wage do you get? And of what portion of that wage is taken from you, how much of that comes back to you is the real conversation. You know, we can argue minimum wage all day. Whatever. It doesn't fucking matter. The real end of the day is, how much do I pay as a business owner in taxes? How much do you pay as an employee in taxes? How much do I pay for you as an employee in taxes? All that shit compounded, the trillions and trillions of dollars that are collected, and then somehow more than that is spent. We cannot continue this path. It doesn't function. We have to do something about that. Because living wage is functional if I don't have to pay this, that, and the other. If I don't have all this other shit going on. Or if I'm actually giving you money and it's going into your pocket and you keep it and you spend it on your shit. Or if it is getting taxed, it's coming back to you with value.
Right.
That's the problem. That's and the problem is it's so goddamn nuanced and complicated that you can't suss it out. You can't suss out the idea of I don't know how much I fucking pay. I'm going to pay in taxes this year, but it's going to be at least 5 figures that I pay in taxes this year. And I'm trying to, and like really, I want to think about it. Even if it's just $10,000. What does $10,000 get me in community wellness? And think about if it's worth $10,000. We have some good parks around here. We went and hunted on federal lands and state lands. It was nice. But everybody is paying for that. Like, that is what I struggle with most. That's what drives me the most insane, is that I cannot figure out the math. It's so fucking complicated that the math can't even begin to make sense. And it's easy. I mean, it's really actually easy because we're just joking about the $1 trillion that we spent on defense budget. That's a big fucking chunk of it. You know, it's like, but it doesn't make sense. That does not add up. We are not at that kind of threat from other people. We are not at that threat. Figure it out. Do better with the money you got. Cut the money in half. Take half $1 trillion off of the federal budget and cut the defense spending in half. I don't even know how. I don't even know what else to do. I mean, that's a start, but that's the first start. That, I mean, you know, you're joking about earlier. If we want to talk about misspending money, that's the first place to go, and that's the biggest place to get return on.
Right.
But that to me is do the fucking math on what you pay in taxes and what you get for it. Because I don't get trash pickup. You know, I mean, I can't remember what it is. I need to look it up. I think my property tax is like $1,000, $1,200 a year or something like that. It's like, what am I getting for that? I don't get shit as far as county level shit goes. I mean, Kyle Ward gets like $25 from me a year or something like that, which I don't mind pitching in on. I mean, it's shit job. I don't want to do it.
Most of the things you don't really think about.
That's what I'm saying. Like, help me.
Some of it's
figure
city
out.
grants. I'm not going to help you figure it out.
No, help me figure it out. That's what I need. That's the point of the
budget.
show. I need help figuring out like how much money I spend a year to fund a thing, and what are the things I'm funding.
I mean, a lot of it's like infrastructure that a lot of people just don't think about.
Like,
Bridges, roads, lights. I mean, the city of Knoxville, I think, within the past maybe 6 to 9 months, went to all their street lights, went to LED.
nice.
And I kept seeing like things kind of going up, like changing shit, and you kept seeing like trucks
They're all
out
white
and
and
about.
creepy.
Yeah, it's all just meant to like last longer. One interesting thing I remember seeing a couple of years ago when they started changing a lot of the stoplights to LEDs, especially in like northern areas of the U.S., is those lights in the old school way would like melt a little bit of the snow whenever the snow would build up on the lights. When they switched to LEDs that had less heat,
Uh
we're getting blocked more often
huh. By snow, that's
by
funny.
by snow and whatnot, just because you didn't have that heat melting off the snow.
I mean, yeah.
I think it's a lot of it's things we don't really think about until you really start trying to break down
That's what I want
the
to see.
intricacies of it.
I would love somebody to do that.
I mean, that's the one thing that I think gets most people.
I still don't
You don't
think
think about where all the money's going.
I
Of
would
course, you're
still
like,
argue
where,
it
where the hell
doesn't-
is the money going? And then you're like, oh shit, whoa, yeah, okay, that too.
I would
Oh,
still
oh,
argue that
yeah.
it doesn't add up at the end of the day. In all the taxes,
And I
mostly
would s-
federally,
Yeah, I would
but-
say for a good chunk of it, yeah.
mostly on the
There's a
federal
lot of,
end.
like,
But
weird shit in there. They're like, wait, why are we spending money on that? Why are we spending money on this?
right, and break that down to me personally, because I think that's part of the thing is that if you do break it down, it gets to such small numbers individually that you're like, oh, whatever.
And people will only empathize with it if it does affect them directly. They're like, well, why does that matter to me? Like, with the whole, the disparaging or the argument with, cities being more democratic and Republicans being more rural, with the argument of like, why should it matter of something that happens in the city if I don't live in the city, if I don't live in the county, and the same thing with the city, why should it matter what happens out in the county? Why are my taxes more because you're paying off to that county?
Right.
Or why should, more people living in one area have so much more control over what I'm doing in the county?
Right. State level
All-
stuff. Yeah.
Right. Because all those funds
Right.
are getting distributed.
Right.
Based
And,
on
well, and
population.
if you're in a non-major county, then you need to fucking suck it up, because us major counties are paying more in than you are, and you're getting more benefit than I am.
Did I hear you just advocate? I thought you were against cities having more power than rural areas.
I am.
Oh, okay.
But the problem is that they don't. Is that this the way the whatever formula they put together is, especially with the school systems. Rural school systems get more money per kid than city school systems. Because
I just assumed it was per child.
nope. It is, but major counties get a reduction because they have more capability of collecting money for their county taxes than rural counties do.
Based on square mile.
Right. And so per resident or whatever the fuck it breaks down to, a rural county gets more money from the state for schools than an urban county. So Nashville or Shelby and Memphis, I just blanked out on Nashville, Knox County, and then whatever Chattanooga's in.
Hamilton.
Yeah, they get less money from the state for schools because they are more capable, air quotes, of raising more money inside the county than rural counties are. And so that $10,000 per kid, that's $7,500 the state kicks out on average. No, it's $10,000 per kid on average, but Knox County only gets $7,500 of that, or something of that nature. I need to get Ron McPherson back on. and the comptroller, for fuck's sake. But I still have that Ron McPherson episode. I haven't figured out what I want to do with it yet. I haven't released it.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, it's just me talking to the dude, and it's just like it doesn't have any point or direction. I feel like I want to cut it and edit it and get some other data to put together with it. And but I just don't think I'm going to do that until we have enough listeners to let me retire from my day job and do this full time. But I don't know. I think I just need to just post it and be like, hey, here's my interview with Ron. I was going to do it anyway. I'm going to release the whole interview no matter what.
All right.
But like, I feel like I could put it in more of like a linear story mode, to kind of get more of what
We looking at budgets.
what I learned. Right. But I didn't really learn that much, because what I was really trying to figure out is how much, I guess what I need to do. I don't know how to do it. I guess what I want to do is I want to figure out how much the state and federal education boards are impacting the county financially, both pro and con, and how much, like, this thing that the Department of Education put together that all schools in the country have to do, how much that costs Knox County, and then how much federally is kicking in to offset what Knox County is having to pay to do that thing. Because he inferred it, and I tried to ask it. I can't remember exactly how I asked the question, but it's basically like, how much do you think it costs? I think my question was, how much do you think it costs for Knox County to administer federal mandates in education? And it's like, well, it's it's one of those. It's complicated. And it's like, well, this, that, and the other. And it's like, the problem is like the federal government, and so is the state level things. It's like, they mandate a thing, and they will give you X number of dollars per student, or they'll give you X number of dollars per 20 students. Well, I have 22 students, so that means I have to have 2 of those things that they're asking for. But they're only going to give me money for 20 because I don't have 40. So, like, whatever it is, I whatever the initiative is, the federal government will kick in $1,000 per 20 students to pay for this thing. Well, I have 22 students. They're still only kicking in $1,000, but I have to have 2 people do the job because I have 22 students, because they mandate this, that, and the other.
Right.
So they mandate that you're only allowed to have 1 teacher per 20 students, but they only pay you per full 20. So you have to have 2 teachers because you have 22, but you're only getting paid for 20. So it's a little fucked up, a little whatever. It's like, I don't know how to break that down to something that's more palatable, other than I don't understand it because I don't even know the specific of what he was referencing that they were requiring him to do. All right. It's late December. We survived 2020 for the most part.
Almost there.
19 days. 19 more days. Don't die. All right, y'all. I think it was 39. Is that what I said? 39? I can't even remember within one episode what episode it is. Almost in agreement at gmail.com. Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. Hit us up. Let us know how stupid you think we are. Party Chair Show is going to come out. This will come out shortly after. We're going to keep working. We got city elections coming up. We've got the transition of power from Trump to Biden. Next week, I really want to try to talk about the year ahead. What's in the future for us personally? Maybe go a non-politics show. Let's do a New Year's resolutions.
What?
Let's talk about our New Year's resolutions as individuals, as people. Or not. We'll talk about politics or whatever. I'll go into my argument about Biden starting at least one new war. That's all I got. We appreciate y'all for listening. We're going to keep doing what we're doing. You keep doing what you're doing. And I'm going to keep drinking really, really light beer. Oh, and check out the Marsha Blackburn podcast. It's terrible.